to people who have the courage and the strength of mind to figure out the best thing we can do for our friends, our family, our co-workers is to stay healthy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This is Dr. Max Shelton. Max Shelton. Wellington area, Kapiti
Can't
Coast
read
area.
my own writing. Classic doctor. Eh? So our strength is going to build new communities, and we have a fantastic opportunity to create the society that we really want. It's very important that we move towards something that we want, rather than running away from things that we don't want. We can waste and use a lot of energy fighting the inevitable. So, on our way out the door this morning, I said to my missus, hey, be careful not to fall, don't break your leg. And she just looked at me and she said, don't die. And I'm like, well, we're both. No. But you know what? It got me thinking, this is a hill that I'm prepared to die on. I hope, just metaphorically, I hope it won't come to literally, but I think we all get that this is really a fight. So we just heard the last few days that Austria, as far as I know, is the first country that's come out and said it is going to forcibly vaccinate all its citizens.
Wow.
They've already announced a compulsory lockdown, 10 days, for the 30-35% of their population that still isn't vaccinated. So if it happens in one country, you can bet it'll happen in others. It is better to fight or flee than to freeze, right? This is a very, very important foible in human psychology. And it makes sense, I suppose, in some ways. But it's important to recognize that we may be in a kind of a limbo state, waiting to see what's going to happen next. So I think it's best that we plan for the worst, but it's still fine to hope for the best. And hope is such an important and powerful emotion. We're often told in medicine, oh, you can't give false hope. You shouldn't set up people's expectations for something you can't deliver. But since when is hope false? It's a state of mind. And very powerful things happen in our bodies, our minds, in our immune systems when we are feeling positive and optimistic. When we have the power to make changes. And the most powerful changes we can make, and the best way we can help people around us, is to change and help ourselves. Change starts here. The work we do on ourselves benefits all those around us. And we need to start thinking about how we personally want to navigate these very tumultuous times going ahead. And that mental rehearsal is very important before taking action. We might not want to think about this stuff. We resent being put in the position. We hate the people that have done this to us. But we still need to be thinking about our connections, our skills, our networks. We've got to think about making our own entertainment, especially, and our own hangouts for our young people. I've been to all the rock concerts I want to go to. I don't go to nightclubs and pubs anymore, but I used to. And I totally understand that need for people to be with their peers and to do the stuff that helps them discover who they are and who they want to be. So we're going to have to do this stuff for our young and for each other. It's not difficult. We just got to start thinking about it. We've got to retain our compassion. And our self-respect and our courage and our compassion is what's going to wake up people and draw people to us that at the moment we might think of as our enemies. But most of these people aren't our enemies. It's not their fault. They've just had a number done on them. You know, we were lucky or unlucky enough, depending how you think about it, to be born with a rebellious streak. You know, an instinct. An instinct to think for ourselves. Distrust authority. Make our own minds up. You know, and it's been known for decades that there's a bunch of people that you can't do Vulcan mind techniques on. You just can't. It's not our fault. It's the way we are. And we don't deserve to be punished for it. So there are lots of good people in our country, and there are lots of good people in our government, and our Ministry of Health. And yesterday, somebody sent me a document that's on the Ministry of Health website that gives me huge hope and confidence. And it says that the least important factor when you go to the doctor in whether a health worker or another patient is going to get COVID is vaccination status. We know this. It's what the evidence has been screaming for months and months. And yet, many of my colleagues, everyone has been blessed with this idea in the last week or two that we are 10 to 20 times more likely to die if we get COVID. So me and my colleagues, we've been looking around, where the hell's this information come from? What study are we missing? Is it just us? Are we the crazy ones? And there is no study. What we found eventually was a quote by another talking head that says that reasonably robust modelling suggests that 10 to 20 times more people may die of COVID if they're exposed to it. All right, now I have to say at this point that I'm still a doctor for another 4 days, so I have to give my disclaimer. My opinion's my own. Go to the Ministry of Health website if you want another perspective. Blah, 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 blah. And in 4 days I'll be able to say what I like. And actually, we've been doing that from the beginning. And we got ourselves in trouble.
Al McKenzie, you're a coward.
But like all of us here, we have no choice. We feel and think and say what we feel and think and say. It's not our fault. So this document also reminds practitioners that we have rights under the Health and Disability Act not to be discriminated against. And if you feel that you are discriminated against by a practitioner who has also been told that he has a duty of care, or she, they have a duty of care towards us, then you can complain to the HCC. Because somebody has broken one of the articles of the code. So you can make a complaint online, and it's very important that you exercise the rights colleagues to all of them. Okay? So it's official. We are not a danger to other people. We know the evidence says that. And if that was true, then we wouldn't have 89% of Scottish people who are dying of COVID being fully treated. And you know what I mean by treatment. I'm not talking about the early treatments that we are having withheld from us, and for which a whole bunch of doctors have now been reported to the Medical Council for attempting to import large amounts so they could treat their patients if it came to it. So this is new news. You heard it here first. So I'm going to wind up, but I haven't quite finished. And as far as I know, we're not all got to be at the Parliament by 30 seconds or so. So today is the 20th of November. Get it? 20th of November 1945 was the first day of the Nuremberg trials after World War II. All right, sounds like you all know what Nuremberg was about. Calling the Nazi war criminals to account, and the doctors that experimented on unwilling prisoners of war. And some of them lost their lives for it. Now, Nuremberg's important for several reasons. First of all, it did include medical practitioners. Secondly, the world agreed that never again should the whole scenario happen. And it was an agreement amongst countries that the medical profession would always guard against anything similar. The persecution and the coercion and the forcing of treatments on people that didn't want it. So it's important we all remember this is a very big anniversary. Lest we forget. Thank you. Happy to hand the mic over. Thank you for your attention.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Matthew Shelton.